Say O to convey surprise, disappointment, disgust, affection. Hey, wait a second. That was pleasure. Close enough, but you see you can get in trouble on that one. All right? So, what I'm asking you to do is simply open your eyes and ears, watch the signals people send you. Verbal, vocal, visual. I'm going to ask you to make 2 simple decisions about people. All right, decision number 1. Is the person that I'm dealing with exhibiting through their verbal, vocal, visual behavior more open or guarded behavior? Now, how do you tell the difference? Guarded people, and I'd like to know if you know people who fit this. Guarded people do not, I repeat, they do not show or share their feelings and thoughts readily or willingly. In other words, they play their cards how? Close to the vest. They're hard to read. They have controlled body language and facial expressions to the extreme. We say they have what kind of a face? Poker face, more stoic. Whatever they are feeling or thinking inside stays inside. They share information only on a need-to-know basis. These are the type of people that when they get together with you, they do not like much, if any, social talk, chit-chat, schmoozing, whatever you want to call it. What do they want to do? Get right down to business. Listen, I have 10 minutes. What do you have? They make decisions primarily based on what? Facts, logic, numbers, data, documentation. Put it in writing. How many of you know somebody like that? All right? I have a friend like this. This guy is off the chart. Off the chart. This guy is so bottom line, so no nonsense, so cut to the chase. I remember the first time he called my home, and my wife Sue answered the phone. She answers. All he says to her is this: Tony. That was it. That was it. So, I mean, she's got a lot on the ball. She figured it was for me, so she gives me the phone. I talked to him. It was a short phone call, as you can imagine. I hang up. She said, who was that? I said, that was Dennis. Why? She said, I cannot believe how rude, and she went on about this. I said, Sue, that's Dennis. You take him, you leave him. That's just him. I've accepted it. She said, no, you're missing something here, Tony. And let me tell you what you're missing. You know, whether he's like that or not doesn't matter to me, but you are known as a relationship and communication expert, and you have a friend like this. What does that say about the effectiveness of your techniques? Whoa, yeah. Now she's talking my language. I said, I never thought about it that way. She said, Tony, I got to tell you, you know, you got to make a decision. You either have to take him under your wing, coach him, be his mentor, show people through him how well your concepts work, or cut him loose. I said, well, I'm not going to cut him loose, so I'll take the challenge. So I worked 3 months with this guy. Now, I don't know how many of you have a story, an example in your life that you are just incredibly proud of. Dennis is mine. I worked with this guy. It was a challenge. I mean, she challenged me. It was like somebody pulling out that glove and smacking me across the face. I worked with him 3 months. And talk about one of the most remarkable turnarounds. He calls my house. My wife answers. He said, Sue, Dennis, Tony, 300% improvement. You can't get better than that. Unbelievable. This stuff works. At the other end, we have the open people. Open people readily, willingly show and share their feelings and thoughts, whether you want to know them or not. Any subject, anywhere, anytime, fair game. These are the people, they wear their hearts on their sleeves. You could read them like a book. Whatever they're feeling or thinking inside, you see outside. Just the way they are. They also have a tendency during conversation to digress a lot. You know, people like that. Oh, that reminds me. And they jump around. What was I talking about? What was the question? they go off on all these tangents. It's been said about open people that their thoughts are like gumballs. They just fall to the tongue and roll out. Not unusual to leave a conversation with an open person and say to yourself, wow, woo! What did we talk about? Because they're jumping all over the place. And they make decisions primarily based on what? Emotion, feeling, intuition. So we have open people, we have guarded people. Question is, where are you? Where would you put yourself on that scale? Most of the time, with most people, pick a number. And I know some of you are saying, Tony, but should I pick the number I am at work or the number I am at home? Because I have a different number at work versus at home. How many of you find yourselves in that situation? One number at work and another at home. How many of you? All right, we call that schizophrenic. Well, not really. Now, you notice I say this is the behavioral style grid. You don't see it saying personality style grid. It's behavioral style. And here's why. Personality is more set in stone than behavior. Behavior you can change. I can decide right now to behave one way with you and an hour later behave a totally different way with you. I can behave one way with you right now and I can behave a totally different way with you now. So I can change and control my behavior like that. That's called adaptability. So the point is, you can have a different number at work or at home. If you ask me, Tony, what number are you? I would say, well, work or home. You say work. And I'd say, well, with my employees or with my customers, because it's a different number. You say, well, how about at home? I say, well, at home, are you talking about the number I am with my wife or my kids? You say, well, your kids. I say, well, which one? I have 4 kids, 4 children, and as fate would have it, one of each of those 4 colors. It is truly amazing. So pick a number that you believe reflects your pattern most of the time with most people, and pick a particular role. Your role as a salesperson, your role within the office with your colleagues, your role at home as a spouse, your role as a parent. Pick a role. I would say in this particular setting, pick your role as a salesperson in the work environment. Okay? Pick a number. Let's go to the next scale. Direct or indirect? How do we tell the difference? Directness is a measure of pace and a measure of assertiveness. So indirect people are slower paced. Direct people are faster paced. Now when I say slower and faster, I'm talking about the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they make decisions, the way they do things in general. Indirect people tend to be slower. Direct people tend to be faster. Indirect people tend to be less assertive. Direct people, more assertive. Indirect people tend to be more patient. Direct people, impatient. When it comes to risks, decisions, or a change, indirect people approach all 3 more slowly, cautiously, and methodically. Because indirect people have a tremendous inner driving need not to be wrong. And as a result, they check, they double check. They think about it, they sleep on it. They do their homework, their research, their due diligence, all because they don't want to be wrong. How many of you have sold somebody like that, right? Direct people, risks, decisions, change, they approach all 3 more quickly, decisively, spontaneously. Because their inner driving need is to accomplish and achieve as much as possible, get it over with, what's next? Now, when the 2 work together and they practice the golden rule, can you see a problem? Because the indirect person is wanting to slow things down. Wait a second. We've got to do this just right. The direct person wants to speed things up. Hey, come on, I got a lot to do. It's good enough. Whenever there is conflict between quantity and quality, who would go which way? Indirect people, quality. Fewer things, doing perfect. The direct people, Quantity. Let's do as much as we can, as good as we can. It doesn't have to be perfect. How many of you believe that you are married to somebody who is at the other end? I am. What end would you put me at? Direct. There's no question about that. Don't even pause on that one. My wife's indirect. And it is amazing how things get done around the house. She is a perfectionist about things. And me, yeah, you know, it's in the right, you know. So, you know, it's near the laundry basket. What does it matter? You know, it's on the floor. You know it belongs in there. I got to tell you, hanging pictures is the worst thing with her. Because she'll say, Tony, this actually, so she comes home one day with like 7 pictures, you know, pieces of art. What are you doing with all this? She said, Tony, no, our walls are too bare. I want to put 2 over there, 1 here, and 2 there, and another one over. And she, you know, she's going through this thing. I said, you know, I don't see any reason why we have to have more stuff on the wall. It looks okay to me. She says, no, we got to do this. She says, I have to run back to the store and pick up some food for tonight. She comes home, and I am so proud. I said, Sue, come over. You're not going to believe this. She said, what? I said, look, I put all 7 up. She said, Tony, what did you do? I said, I put them up. She said, you did it all wrong. I said, Sue, you said 2 there, 1 there, 1 there, 2 there. I put them just where you wanted. She said, no, and they're crooked, too. I said, they are not crooked. No way. And we get into this whole thing about if it's crooked. She goes in, pulls out one of these, what do they call them? The levels. All right? So a little piece of the bubble's outside of the line. I mean, just a little piece. I thought it was pretty good getting that close without using a level. And she said, look, it's not, and we have to go through every single one, do these. It took a whole day. Now, how could something like this take a whole day? It took me 15 minutes to put 7 up. But that's what happens. That's what happens. When it comes to rules, indirect people follow rules according to the letter of the law. Direct people follow rules according to the spirit of their interpretation. How about gray areas? When there's a gray area, it doesn't quite say whether you can or you can't. Whenever an indirect person comes across a gray area, they usually go to somebody in authority and ask permission. You know, it doesn't say whether I can do this or not. This is what I'd like to do. Is it okay? They're looking for the blessing. Is it okay? Can I do it? Whereas the direct person, when they find a gray area, which of course they call their window of opportunity, their attitude is, I'm not going to ask. If I ask and I hear no, I can't do it. If I don't ask, I didn't hear no, could be yes. I'm just going to go do it. My philosophy is this. It's easier to beg forgiveness than it is to seek permission. So now the question becomes, what letter would you pick for yourself? So what I'd like you to do is pick a letter for yourself that you believe reflects your pattern of behavior most of the time with most people. So pick a letter. Does everybody have a letter and a number? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is build the model. I have 3 objectives in this section of the program. 3 objectives. Number 1, how do you size up somebody through the simple process of elimination? 2 decisions, ladies and gentlemen. Is the person more open or guarded? Process of elimination. Is the person more direct or indirect? Process of elimination. Second objective, understanding the 4 basic patterns of behavior. What are they? How do they act? What's their likes, dislikes, fears, goals, the ways they make decisions, etc. And then the third and most critical, once you can size somebody up, understand their style, what do you do about it? And this is where you have sort of the golden key. Because I guarantee you, and I've taught this concept. This year actually is 30 years that I've been teaching, researching, and writing about this concept. And as you can imagine, in 30 years, I have thousands of testimonial letters, and I can tell you, in terms of sales,